We are live. Welcome to another YouTube Live. And let me do the announcements first. Sessions available through June 2026. Autographed books are on the website. Art and Sacramentals hopefully will be up on eBay this week. You can follow me, georgeanderson.com, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads at George Anderson Medium. For more videos like these, subscribe to my channel, please. Post your questions in the chat or comment box, please. General questions only, please. There will be no personal messages. No questions about specific individuals, please. And my freaking eye allergies are acting up, so don't mind me. And as we begin this hour, I found out that September is National Suicide Prevention Month. And I wanted to pay a compliment to a band called Papa Roach. They held a concert on Long Island this past weekend and donated $30,000 to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. So bravo to them for their kindness and consideration. Suicide is something that many times comes up in my sessions. And I still have trouble examining it, so to speak, because people are not in the right frame of mind when that act takes place. Oh, these allergies are driving me insane. So a soul may consider their crossover to the world unseen as being a accident because of the fact they've been suffering with the mental and emotional struggles for such a strong period of their lives, and eventually probably just don't know what else to do and end up giving up. But the souls over in the world unseen are very compassionate and understanding. But by me saying that, that certainly is not an invitation to anyone to contribute to ending their life. The suicide hotline, of course, is 988 for those people who feel the need. Take advantage of it. That's why we have these programs. But anyway, many of the souls who do come through from the hereafter that have contributed to ending their life will admit that they were sick at heart. So I consider that they passed on due to an illness, which mental and emotional struggle is certainly an illness. It creates terrible stress, inflammation. We all have bouts of anxiety and depression, and it's not the easiest thing to deal with. There's no such thing as a magic wand that somebody here or there can wave to make it go away. It can be a dreadful struggle that just chips away at your entire state of being. So people should always reach out, especially guys. The souls in the world unseen have told me hundreds of times that men are more frustrated here, and men do not like being widowers. And so many different things will affect men And that is also probably because society has put a heavy burden on them that they have to act a certain way and be a certain way. They're not really permitted to cultivate close friendships with other men because as they get older, people become suspicious. So instead of people minding their own dang business and leaving people alone, which is the universal law from over there, the souls have said from the world unseen, learn to mind your own dang business. And of course, religions have been also oppressive in that arena, making individuals feel worthless. And the other things that I found out, I'm glad I'm not a expert on anything to do with the computer, is cyberbullying. I've never heard of any such thing. And yet there are people that have contributed to ending their life from that constant persecution. And I certainly had my struggles in school with kids my own age that were just nasty and mean. And now, of course, they all want to be my best friend. Go blank yourself, as far as I'm concerned. And you should have thought of that instead of trying to get to know me as an individual. You wasted so much time of your own and mine of being mean for no reason. I just was going to school and trying to mind my own business. So, what was that all about? Nothing? Oh, okay. So, I wanted to make sure that anybody out there who remembers those days, don't try knocking on my door now to try to make amends, because I'm one person who does believe in forgiveness, but I do believe it's also overrated when it comes to how people treat each other. And it's just dreadful that we have to be so cautious and so concerned about how we're going to be looked upon. That's why the company of animals, as many people will agree with me, are my pride and joy. My two cats, my boys, make the greatest companions. They don't judge you, they just love you for who you are. And it's too bad that more humans do not have a disposition as animals do. If they did, this would certainly be a lovely place to be involved in. Now, also, the souls in the world unseen have also asked me today to discuss prayer. Now, they don't mean necessarily traditional Catholic or Christian prayers. We can choose a prayer as that which comes from the heart, and the Psalms can be considered prayers as well as traditional prayers we have been raised with. Or you can make up your own. They have no problem with it. But they have reported, which is not surprising, that praying for someone else actually makes your prayer more powerful. Now, naturally, they don't suggest that we pray and expect a miracle, because the souls in the world unseen have to certainly expect our spiritual experience here. And that may be sometimes why your prayers you may feel are not answered, because if it's an interference of your spiritual experience, the souls cannot come to us and help us, even if we do reach out to them. But I would strongly advise, from what they've told me, that try to turn your prayers on behalf of someone else beside yourself. You'll notice that they will be more effective when they offered on behalf of another individual. But not everything gets answered. Again, they don't have the authority to stick their nose into our business. And I don't think anybody likes to have someone else, even in the world unseen, stick their nose into our business and try to lead us by the nose. It's completely against the natural law. We're here to learn it for ourselves. We find out for ourselves, and we grow on ourselves and by ourselves. We're always in the driver's seat. So don't look for a loved one over there to suddenly take control of your existence, because it will not happen. Certainly pray for them, but also recognize that even they sometimes, even the creator sometimes, has to say no, because it can be an invasion of our spiritual experience. And that's what we're here for. That's what we're here for, to grow, to progress, and keep moving ahead. People have been coming through, souls lately, telling me they're not too disappointed to be away from here when they see all the bull that we're going through here. And I can't blame them. And it does make it glad that so many souls are out of here, where they don't have to deal with it as we do. But it's part of the experience, so we just keep moving ahead and doing the absolute best we can. That's all that is required of us. Now, I've been seeing the scroll moving, so apparently questions are coming forward. So shoot.
Did a person who committed suicide reach their block of time here?
I really don't know, because contributing to ending your life is through your own action. So they may feel, because they've been having such a difficult time here, that they cannot pursue it any longer. Anybody who has struggled with mental and emotional anxieties and depression knows it's a never ending struggle. It also is a tricky struggle, because individuals from the world unseen report they suffered from it here on the earth, and yet there were times that it would diminish or go away, but it would always return sooner or later and bite them on the rear. So when they do get to the hereafter and they don't feel that dreadful sense of emotional and mental struggle, they're inclined to not trust it, because they are concerned that once they let their defenses down, it may come back and bite them on the rear. So that's why it is so important for people who do contribute to ending their life that you offer up sincere and profound prayer for them. There's also different angels in the hereafter who are more than happy to help us in any way they can if we ask. There's also different Catholic saints. For example, one that I've reached out to in my lifetime is Saint Dymphna. She's the patroness saint of those who have mental and emotional issues and struggles. And I've also heard in the world unseen, she does go out of her way to administer to souls who come over there that have contributed to ending their lives, that just can't seem to find their way or peacefulness. She's very willing to help you to help yourself. So it is somebody to certainly call on. And that's not an advertisement of religion on my part. I give these individuals the titles that they earned. And she has been canonized. And I would call her saint just like I call my doctor, doctor. It's titles that people have earned. And the angels definitely are on tap for the slightest prayer. Saint Archangel Raphael, the world unseen, has told me is always ready to help people. He's the healing archangel. You can also invoke Saint Michael the Archangel, Saint Gabriel, Saint Ariel. There's just so many angels over there that are still the Creator's messengers and helpers. So don't hesitate to reach out to them, because I've been told from the world unseen, they're on tap for the slightest prayer to help us in whatever way they can. Sometimes, though, don't expect an instantaneous miracle. It may take time for them to help you, to put you at peace or to relax and to be a friend to you. Just don't hesitate to call out to them. And do we have another question?
Have you ever had a soul come through describing the higher levels of the hereafter?
Yes, I have. Individuals who have made, sorry for the allergies, individuals who have made tremendous achievements here on the earth that have really fulfilled their purpose do find themselves in the hereafter in the higher levels. The souls have told me that's what the Redeemer meant when he referred to, in my Father's house there are many mansions. He was actually referring to the levels that are over there. I've learned from readings and past experience that the exceptional composer Tchaikovsky, who I'm sure many of you know, wrote extremely beautiful music and ballets. Well, he's in the higher levels over there, which I was very happy to hear, because he certainly deserves it. And there's definitely composers here on the earth that have enriched our culture and existence with their musical achievements. Artists also. People have just gone out of their way to do exceptional good works here, like the illustrious Mother Cabrini, who certainly deserved sainthood. When I had the privilege of seeing the film Cabrini in the movies, she was one courageous, tough woman, and she certainly had so much BS that she had to deal with with the hierarchy of the church, as well as other individuals who were so prejudiced against Italians who had immigrated here for a better life. But she certainly came out the winner as the mother of the immigrant. And I certainly prayed to her also at different times. So she's somebody to also take into consideration. St. Barbara is one of the holy helpers, one of the 14 holy helpers. And even though the traditional Catholic Church still acknowledges the holy helpers, St. Barbara is one of them. She appears in my sessions mainly if somebody is going through a time of struggle with family or individuals, or feels like they're a rock in a hard place. The saint is always extending to offer them compassion and help. And what she gives them from then on is her joyfulness as best she can. And different individuals I encourage sometimes to certainly invoke her. She, as one of the 14 holy helpers, I still pray to the 14 holy helpers. And you can look them up online, and they still, in my opinion, and in the world unseen's opinion, they're still the 14 holy helpers, even though Vatican II chipped away at so much of the spirituality of what we were raised with. But I still continue with it, whether somebody likes it or not. As I say, you don't like it? Tough titty, said the kitty.
When we're reunited with our loved ones in the hereafter and want to physically embrace them, how can we do this if there is no physical body?
The embrace, I believe, is a spiritual one. If I could speak, it would help. So it's actually more intense, I've been told, from the souls over there than a physical embrace. It actually can feel as if the two of you become a part of each other because of the closeness. And many of the souls in the world of unseen have actually declared that we too can experience it here. Sometimes individuals here in the physical, you might get the feeling of a loved one being nearby, and you'll get a very comforting chill or reassurance. And that will be a spiritual embrace from them coming from the world unseen. Remember, they're not miles away from here. They're here. It's just that it's the world unseen. It's a different frequency of existence, but it runs parallel with ours. And yes, there are higher levels up there that, as I spoke of a few moments ago, that souls who really make an outstanding profession here and an outstanding growth, and leave us with things that are enjoyed for some of them centuries. They are justifiably rewarded for the better in the world unseen by being in the upper levels. Now, average Joe Blows like myself and people viewing this live podcast, you may end up in the, I don't want to sound insincere, but you may end up in like the typical um, growth level. But you always have the opportunity to work to the higher levels. It's never denied us. It's all how we progress here and what things that we do here that make the situation for us in the world unseen outstanding. So work on here, doing the best you can. I'm sure there's plenty of souls who don't make much of an effort here and end up going that they've been real SOBs on the earth and end up sending themselves to the lower levels. The Creator does not send you there. You will send yourself there by your nefarious deeds and horrible episodes that you've done in your life. That's why the nicer we are here, the more we are fulfilled. If you turn out to be a creep on this earth, it's going to catch up with you sooner or later. That's one thing I've learned about karma. It always finds you to bite you on the rear, whether it be here or hereafter. But if it does, chances are you've brought it on yourself. But the road to reformation is never closed. The Creator never gives up on us. We end up giving up on ourselves by our misdeeds and episodes of misdeeds.
Can the spirit guides help us understand the disease of cancer in a spiritual aspect?
I honestly have to be truthful and say I don't know. Eventually, I'm sure something will conclude that illness that haunts so many people and so many people pass on from. But just because they're in the hereafter, as they've said to me, that doesn't mean they know everything and can tell us everything we may long to know. We have to work here and also find things for ourselves, as difficult as it may be. But it's always worth a try in any case.
Do you receive messages from angels?
At times, yes, they do come through in my sessions, particularly if somebody has a unique devotion with a particular angel. Saint Michael the Archangel, for example, he has shown up in my sessions as a clue for the name Michael, and also because somebody can have steadfast devotion with him. So he'll show up to acknowledge the individual here, as well as assure them that they're with them. And Gabriel, Saint Archangel Gabriel, has also come in sessions normally as a solo of the Creator's messenger, and also as a clue for the name Gabriel or the feminine Gabriella. So that's happened to me also. And there's other angels too that show up that many of you probably, as myself, have never heard of before. We're all more conditioned with the predominance of the archangels, but there are other angels like the angel Jophiel and other angels that you can look up online, that there's a list of them, that they may be archangels. Metatron is another one who's an archangel now, that was received into the world unseen as an angelic being because of his close connection to the Creator when he was here on the earth. So you can research them. That's one thing about the computer. You can Google, give me names of angels, and you can look them up on eBay and Etsy and find out about them in any way that you can, especially ones that you've never heard of before. I'm sure they won't mind hearing from somebody here, praying to them, reaching out to them for help or assistance in any area that they can help us with. But remember, we have to ask first. They cannot come into our lives without us asking for their help and assurance.
Are orbs spirits of our loved ones?
I don't know, but I believe that they could be. Even as I'm doing this program right now, every now and then I keep seeing little pin lights flashing in front of me. And I would take that as a sign of spiritual recognition or souls here. Because remember, it's just the world unseen. As I said, it's not billions of miles away from us. It's here, but it's a different frequency. And I think many times when I see those little pin lights flash, that it can be certainly a loved one or somebody from the world unseen that's reaching out.
How long after someone passes should we wait before seeing a medium to try to contact them?
You can see well, first of all, once they pass on, I've had souls come through from the world unseen who report that the subject or subjects that I was doing a session for was at their funeral and burial day that day. So apparently it can be right away. People, though, I have to be very cautious. And also you, the subject, has to be very cautious of loved ones coming through. If a loved one comes through and they are just extremely joyful and jubilant, I have to approach it cautiously, because that could be the way they are in the world unseen. They could have been a real SOB here. So I'm always hoping that what I'm feeling, I'm feeling. I had a subject last week whose parents had passed on, and I'm so used to hearing horror stories doing a session. Her parents were lovely, and I jokingly said to her, your parents are like the epitome of the adventures of Ozzie and Harriet. I know there's people out there that's way ahead of their time. But as much as I tried to find a skeleton in the closet, finally, her mother and father came to me and said, you can look all you want. You're not going to find one. And indeed, I could not. And I felt really happy for this woman and happy for her parents that they enjoyed reaching out to her again and rekindling what a loving, joyful home she had been raised in. And somebody who came from a dysfunctional home, such as myself, that really is a joy to hear.
What is a good source to learn about angels and saints?
Any arena that you could possibly follow online. You can Google archangels in general if you don't know any of, or you can just Google angels, and I'm sure something will come up. You can also ask to have angels' names that you might not know of. Ask for the possibility of a list or a website that will bring you to angels. I'm sure there are hundreds. And saints, for example, if you want to investigate the 14 holy helpers, just key in 14 holy helpers, and all of them will come up, and certainly you'll be able to read up on them. And most of the time, I try to find out what the individual's saint name may be. And fortunately, even though I don't feel I grew up with great parents, I will be fair and give my mother credit that she was very big on us being attuned to the spirituality of Catholicism. My father was not Catholic, he was Protestant. And different, with my name, you can't get any more waspy than my name, especially if I include my middle name. There can be no question that my father's side of the family were WASPs and Protestants, although very sweet people in their own way. I've only known some of them over the years and was able to visit them in the United Kingdom. But certainly, I just never knew. My father attended Mass with us every Sunday as a family. So I just assumed, as his older sister, when she had gotten married, she left the Church of England and converted back to Roman Catholicism. I just assumed he did. But it wasn't until he had his first heart attack and I had gone to visit him, a priest came to see him, and it was an Anglican priest. And I said, "Why didn't you have the Catholic priest come?" And he said to me, "Because I'm Episcopalian." I said, "Oh, I didn't know that." Well, learn something new every day.
In your experience communicating with souls in the hereafter, do souls who've been murdered seek justice for the person responsible, or do they become ambivalent once they've crossed over?
It really depends on the soul. Many of them might not be too thrilled about what's happened to them. And they may go on a campaign to seek justice here, to feel a sense of fulfillment. Other souls work on forgiveness and letting it go, telling me that they don't desire to carry that baggage with them in the world unseen. But they also see the ugliness that it can create for their loved ones here. And their loved ones here may not be eager to offer forgetfulness or forgiveness. And one woman I did a session for one time was actually pleased to hear that I felt that forgiveness was overrated. And she was so afraid because she was having trouble forgiving about the murder of her daughter that she was afraid of what could happen to her in the world unseen. But the souls understand, they don't force anything on us here or there. They don't tell us once we get there, well, if you don't shape up, you might as well be shipped out again. And this is where I've come in my own life to realize that sometimes forgiveness is overrated, I feel. Or is it better to forgive but not forget? Because so many people that are lovely people I've had for sessions that have gone through such terrible, terrible tragedies. And it just gives them such issues with anger. I can't say I blame them. I'm not in their shoes, but I certainly can understand where their issues are coming from and their struggles here. Because in essence, they have the harder part. They're here and they have to live with memory every day. And also, many parents who have had children pass on so dreadfully and then see the justice system turn around and kick them in the pants also. I can't say I blame them for feeling the way that they do. The soul over there of their loved one and others will try to help them to help themselves, but certainly can understand their struggles here that they live with on a daily basis.
What saint are you wearing tonight?
This actually, a lady made this for me. And it's the infant Jesus of Prague, for those who've never seen him before. She made it for me from an oyster shell. That's why it's big. And I thought it was very sweet of her to do that. It brings back memories of my old days of traditional Catholicism. So to express my gratitude to her for her thoughtfulness of being an ardent fan of watching my YouTube video, she made it for me and sent it to me not too long ago. So I came across it today and I said, I think I'll wear the Holy Infant Jesus of Prague. I would also recommend people to pray with the infant. He's very powerful, especially for people who are having financial struggles or issues of that nature. There was more of a devotion with him prior to Vatican II, but he still is acknowledged. I'm sure many people will still see the image of him in their local church or wherever, because I think the last person that visited his shrine was Pope, what was his name? Pope Benedict the 15th, wasn't it? That had gone to Prague and made the effort to visit the shrine of the Infant of Prague. And so many people have had devotion to him. I know my mother did for most of her life, was very devout to the Holy Infant Jesus of Prague. And that's another reason why I thought it was so nice of this lady to make this for me personally and then send it to me. So thank you very much, whoever you are. I hope you're listening.
When you die, and you might not be on the same level in the hereafter as your loved ones, does that mean you won't be able to be with them or see them?
Well, no. I think that when you pass on, if you've been such as myself, as I always say, like an average Joe, you will go to a place where they will jubilantly welcome you over. Remember, if their existence is in one of the higher levels, they can certainly come down to you. You have to earn your way up. So, but they can come and will come to welcome you in jubilation. So many souls in the world unseen have told me it's quite an unusual change of two different directions. You look back and see the sadness here at your loved one's departure, and yet in that direction, it's a joyful reunion, especially many souls, which I'm always happy to hear, report that their pets or other animals come first to welcome them over, because the animals always make you feel loved and joyful. And as I've said before, that's what I'm looking forward to. Let my kitty cats come to welcome me over, and we've got a deal.
What are we supposed to learn when someone who works so hard for others, like Mother Cabrini, has her legacy, like her hospitals, closed, but others who spread chaos thrive and prosper off of it?
Great question, and something I've thought of myself. Because at the mass that I go to, the traditional one, the priest one Sunday gave his sermon on Mother Cabrini, and was remarked that it's very sad to see, with all the work she eagerly performed on behalf of the immigrants and the poor, that so much of her landmark hospitals and such have closed down. Sooner or later, it all narrows down to money, let's be honest. And yet, people who aren't the nicest people here on the earth, they seem to flourish financially and such in the chaos. So certainly it is a very difficult experience for us. But since the changes of Vatican II, which I was never in favor of, I've seen so much of the spirituality I was raised with disappear and be chipped away. And hopefully it will start to come back again. But it's there to, because even in sessions, souls of your loved ones will come through and say, okay, you may not be into the changes and you may not go to mass on Sunday, but don't detach yourself from the spiritual roots you were raised with. It's part of your heritage. So continue with your devotion to Saint Teresa the Little Flower, or Saint Anthony, or the Blessed Mother, or whoever you recall your parents and grandparents having devotion with and did pass it on to you. You can certainly still do that to enrich your life and enrich the lives of your loved ones in the world unseen.
Right. And it's that legacy that we take with us into the hereafter, right?
Yes, that it shouldn't really be, I don't think I would ever desire to cast it aside. I'd rather take it with me and continue with it even from over there. I had a session this week where I did see Saint Teresa, the Little Flower, appear. And not only was the subject I was doing the discernment for very devout with her, where the saint came to her and announced she was her guardian angel saint, but also her mother, who had been very devout with her, also still continues to the devotion toward her in the world unseen. And she was very flattered that she actually has met her over there. And her daughter was very happy to hear that. And the saint was very happy to reach out to her. And this woman felt as though she had met a celebrity she had been devout with through her entire life when she was here on the earth. So that was really sweet.
When we hear a voice saying everything will be okay, is it our guides or our angels?
It can be either or. It can be your guardian angel because they are here to guide and protect as best they can. So if you feel that news that they're telling you everything will be all right, be grateful and don't be afraid to accept it. It can be a loved one, it can be a guardian angel. That's another thing in the sessions I do when I really try not now to spend time giving everybody this lengthy preparation for it. I've started saying to them, look, just let your loved ones do their thing. The only thing I would advise you to do, whether you're pleased with whatever they say or whatever they do, just be grateful. Because keep in mind, they will appreciate you showing them gratitude because, after all, they are coming to rekindle joyfulness with you again. So, being thankful and expressing gratitude to them is definitely well received.
Do our pets who've passed on stay with us until we die?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I thought before when I was watching something on YouTube, I thought that one of my present cats came up and sat next to me. When I turned to look, wasn't there anymore. So it must have been one of the cats that I had that had passed on. I think I know which one it is. And the animals seem to stay with your loved ones over there, and they do come to welcome you over. It's one thing about them, they always love you and you always love them. And it's the perfect existence for both of you in the sense of unconditional love. Having to put an animal to sleep, needless to say, I'm sure there's many of you out there who will agree with me, is torment and heartbreaking, because you just don't want to lose them, and you're so worried about them understanding. But it's best that you do not let them suffer here. I don't think human beings should be allowed to suffer here. I'm firmly a fan of euthanasia for our adoring pets as well as our loved ones who would choose to make that decision of their own free will in their will. I think that should be legally allowed. I have in my will, do not resuscitate, and I'll be fine with that, because I'll know that my animals will be there to welcome me over, and I'll be very jubilant for that.
What is the most uncomfortable message a soul has conveyed to their loved ones during a session?
It would take me a few minutes to think about this. I think of the time I had a woman younger than me, but I would say perhaps in her 50s, and which isn't old by today's standards by any means. And her husband came through during the discernment, and he had been an unquestionable SOB when he was on the earth, and was so cruel to this lady, and she was so lovely. And what makes her even more lovely is that even though he was such an SOB, he told me that she always loved him and still does. And she said she did. And I said, more power to you, because I certainly wouldn't. But he confessed he was glad that he had passed on, because if he had lingered here much longer, chances are he would have ended up murdering her. And I just couldn't believe what I heard. I thought it was dreadful. And yet she wasn't surprised. He was that nefarious that he had considered that. Let's just say he's in the lower levels over there due to his own unorthodox actions. Now, I can't answer all questions after this YouTube live. For more videos such as this one, please subscribe to my channel. It's free, and why not? It'll give you and me something to do. Sessions are available through June 2026. Autographed books are on the website, and keep abreast to eBay artwork that people have been asking me about, and sacramentals will be hopefully up very shortly. And keep abreast of me with georgeanderson.com, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads at George Anderson Medium. And once again, let me give a nice expression of gratitude to the lady who made this for me, and to the band called Papa Roach, who held a concert on Long Island for the benefit of donating $30,000 to the Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And being that this month, September, is National Suicide Prevention Month, if you have an issue, don't be shy. dial the hotline 988. That's what those individuals are there for, is to help you to help yourself. So without further ado, may you all have a gracious evening until I'm on YouTube again.